They left for the family vacation. 3 cars, my fiance's kids, her parents, her sister. My kids and I woke up to an empty driveway. When I called, she said, "We thought you were taking your own car." I said nothing. An hour later, her sister accidentally sent me a screenshot meant for their chat. "He actually didn't come phase 1 complete." I just replied, "Safe travels," then quietly canceled the $9,800 resort booking I'd made for all of them. And then came phase 2. At 7:44 a.m., 88 missed calls. One just said, "Emergency." I found out my fiancée had left me behind because her sister was careless. That was what I told myself for exactly 1 hour. Then, her sister sent me a screenshot by mistake. Not to me, to the wrong thread. My thread. I was standing in my kitchen in socks, staring through the front window at an empty driveway when my phone buzzed. 3 cars were gone, my fiancée Marissa's SUV, her parents' van, and her sister Dana's crossover. Gone before 7. The house was too quiet in that weird way it gets when a plan has already happened without you. My 2 kids were still upstairs, asleep. So, were Marissa's 2 kids the night before, all 4 of them spread out in the living room with blankets and popcorn. After we'd packed for what was supposed to be our first big blended family vacation. A resort in the mountains. 3 nights, indoor water park, arcade, breakfast buffet, little campfire area out back. The kind of place I normally would have called overpriced. The kind of place I booked anyway because I wanted all the kids to have one clean memory together before summer got too busy. I paid for all of it. Every room, every meal package, every resort wristband. The total on my card had been $9,800 after taxes, and the extra adjoining suite Marissa's parents said they probably needed because of her father's back. I know that number because I stared at it 3 times before I hit confirm. I'm Ben. I'm 39. I own a tire shop and small service garage outside Dayton. Mostly mounts, balancing, brakes, alignments, used tire sales, winter swaps, the usual stuff people don't think about until they're stuck on the shoulder. I'm divorced. I had 2 kids from that marriage, Noah, who was 12, and Ellie, who was 9. Marissa and I had been engaged for 11 months. She had 2 kids too, Owen and Lucy. We'd spent the last year telling ourselves we were building something steady. That morning, I called her. She picked up on the 4th ring, sounding half annoyed, half breathless, like she was already wrangling people at a gas station. "Hey," she said. I looked at the driveway again, even though I knew what I'd see. "Where are you?" There was a pause. Then, "On the road?" I actually laughed once, not because it was funny, because my body didn't know what else to do. "You left." Another pause. Longer this time. "We thought you were taking your own car," she said. That was her line. Not "sorry we missed you." Not "I thought you were behind us." Not "this is a mess." Just that. "We thought you were taking your own car." Like I was an extra cousin. Like I was supposed to fall in line after everyone else. Like my kids and I were luggage that somehow failed to load ourselves. I said nothing. I could hear road noise and one of the kids in the background asking for gummies. Then Marissa lowered her voice and added, "Ben, don't make this into something. You said you still wanted to tidy up this morning." I felt my throat go tight. "I said I wanted to lock the back gate and load the cooler. Well, we assumed you'd catch up." Catch up. 3 cars left, 1 house at dawn, with 4 adults coordinating bags, snacks, kids, chargers, coffee, and directions. And I was supposed to believe all of them, just accidentally forgot the man who paid for the entire trip. And the 2 children sleeping in his house. I still said nothing. Then she sighed, irritated now. "So what do you want to do?" What did I want to do? I looked up the stairs, toward the hallway where my kids were still asleep under the same roof she had walked out of without waking them. I said, "Safe travels." And I hung up. An hour later, the screenshot came in. Dana had meant to send it to their family chat. Instead, she sent it to me. I saw the message preview first, then opened it. It was a screenshot of a group thread with 6 people in it. Marissa, Dana, Marissa's mom, Marissa's dad, Dana's husband, and Dana. At the bottom, Dana had typed, "He actually didn't come phase 1 complete." Above that were older messages. Not all visible, but enough. Tell the kids not to say anything. If he's mad, that proves the point. Once we're checked in, he won't do anything. And then Marissa had reacted with a laughing face to something cut off at the top. I read it 3 times. Then I replied to Dana's mistaken message with exactly what I had just said to Marissa. Safe travels. That was all. Then I opened my email, found the resort confirmation, and called the booking desk. I didn't yell. I didn't explain my life story. I gave my name, reservation number, last 4 digits of the card, and asked what could still be canceled before check-in. The woman put me on hold for less than a minute. My palms were sweating so badly, the phone kept slipping. When she came back, she said, "Mr. Carter, the booking was made under your account and has not been checked in yet. There will be a cancellation penalty, but the remaining balance can be refunded to your card within 5 to 7 business days." I looked down at the screenshot again. Phase 1 complete. Do it, I said. She repeated the amount. A little over $2,000 lost to cancellation and same-day fees. Painful, not painless, but not more painful than what had just happened upstairs in my own house. I asked for the email confirmation. She sent it while I was still on the line. I watched it arrive. Then I forwarded it to Marissa. No text, no comment. Just the cancellation email. That was phase 2. At 7:44 a.m., I had 88 missed calls. One voicemail was just her father saying, "Emergency. Call us right now." I didn't. Instead, I went upstairs and knocked on Noah's door first. He was already awake, sitting up, hair sticking everywhere, wearing the t-shirt he planned to swim in later. "Are they loading the cars?" he asked. I hated how normal his voice sounded. I leaned on the doorframe. Trips off, his face changed right away. He looked past me, like maybe the answer was in the hall behind my shoulder. Off like delayed. No, off. He didn't ask why. Noah had that habit his whole life. When adults got strange, he'd go quiet instead of chasing the truth. He just nodded once, too hard, and looked down at his blanket. Ellie took it worse. She was still in unicorn pajamas, half under the covers, and when I told her we weren't going, her first words were, "Did Lucy not want me there?" That one hit me right in the chest. "No," I said too fast. "This isn't about you." But kids know when they are being excluded. They know before you do, most times. They notice the extra beat before an invitation, the missing place setting, the car seat mix-up, the way adults smile without warmth. She rubbed her eyes and whispered, "I heard them last night." That made me stop cold. "Heard who?" "Miss Dana," she said. "In the kitchen. She asked if we were all really going, and Grandma Lynn said it would be crowded already." Grandma Lynn, Marissa's mother. Not Ellie's anything, technically. But for 10 months, Marissa had kept telling the kids that labels didn't matter, and love would make its own place. Love hadn't made much of a place for my kids. My wallet had. That was the part I had ignored for almost a year. Not because I was stupid, because I wanted it to work. I paid the deposit on Dana's rental house when her husband's overtime got cut, $1,200. She called it a bridge, then paid back exactly $300 over 7 months and acted insulted when I stopped asking about the rest. I covered Marissa's mother's dental implant because insurance messed up the coding. $2,600. I told myself it was temporary family help. I bought Owen new cleats and Lucy a tablet for school and never once minded those things because those were for kids. But then it spread. Her father needed tires and you get wholesale, Ben. Dana's water heater blew and you know contractors. Marissa wanted to keep her old apartment 1 extra month after moving in with me, just in case. Every problem seemed to end with my card, my truck, my trailer, my time, or my shop account. I noticed a pattern early. My kids got gratitude speeches. Her kids got belonging. Noah and Ellie were always the ones expected to adjust. Could Noah take the pullout, since Owen slept badly? Could Ellie skip the matching shirts for the beach photos because Lucy had already picked colors? Could we do just the core family for dinner at her parents' because space was tight? Core family. That one stayed with me. Every time I almost brought it up, Marissa had an answer ready. Her mom was old-fashioned. Dana was territorial. Her dad just needed time. Blending was hard. Not everything was personal. I believed her because Loving someone makes you doubt your own math. But that morning, the equation got very simple. By 8:30, Marissa was pounding on my front door. I didn't realize they had turned around that fast until Noah looked out the window and said, "Dad, they're here." All three cars. I opened the door before she could wake the dead. Marissa pushed past me like she still lived inside the version of the story where this was all some solvable misunderstanding. "What did you do?" Her face was red and blotchy. Dana was behind her, already crying. Their mother stood at the walkway, clutching her purse to her chest like she was the injured party. Their father stayed by the van on his phone, probably with the resort, probably hearing the same answer I already had. I stepped onto the porch and shut the door behind me. I canceled the booking. Dana let out a strangled sound. "Ben, are you insane?" "No." Marissa stared at me like she didn't recognize me. Maybe she didn't. Maybe I had finally become expensive to cross. "My kids were crying," she said. I looked right at her. Mine woke up to an empty driveway. Her mother stepped forward then. There has clearly been a horrible communication issue. I almost admired that. The nerve. Not apology, not shame. Communication issue. Dana was shaking her head. "You took this way too far." The plan was for you to come in your truck later. I pulled my phone from my pocket and held up the screenshot. Her face dropped so fast, it was almost comical. Marissa saw it too. Then she closed her eyes for half a second, like that might erase it. No one spoke. Finally, I said, "Phase 1? Dana started instantly. "That was a joke." "Tell me the joke." Silence. Their father walked up then, phone still in hand. "Do you have any idea what you've cost this family?" I looked at him for a long second. That sentence. Not "what have we done," not "can we fix this," not "your kids," just money. The same language they always spoke when the truth got too close. "I know exactly what this family costs me," I said. Marissa's eyes flashed. "Ben, no, we're doing this once." I kept my voice flat because if I let anger into it, they'd hide behind my tone instead of their behavior. "You left my children in my house and drove off on a trip I paid for. Then your sister sent me proof it was intentional." "That's not what happened," Marissa snapped. I looked at her. Then explained phase 1. She opened her mouth and closed it again. Her mother stepped in. Everyone was upset after the rehearsal dinner. There it was. The real beginning, not the driveway, not the screenshot. The night before, we'd had a barbecue in my backyard because Noah had made junior varsity baseball. Just burgers, chips, sheet cake, paper plates. My brother stopped by with his wife. A couple guys from the shop came too. It should have been easy. At one point, Noah was showing his batting gloves to Marissa's son, Owen. They were laughing. Ellie and Lucy were drawing chalk stars on the patio. Then Dana, half a drink in, said loud enough for 3 tables to hear, "Funny how Ben's kids always end up front and center." I remember setting down a tray of buns and saying, "It's Noah's dinner." And she smiled at me that thin smile and said, "Sure, until the wedding, then maybe the family can settle." Marissa didn't defend me. She leaned over and murmured, "She's just stressed." Later that night, after the kids went inside, her mother asked whether we were still planning to include Noah and Ellie in the ceremony seating with immediate family, or if there would be less confusing options. Less confusing. For whom? I had said, very clearly, they are my immediate family. The whole table cooled off after that. Dana got quiet. Her father started talking football too loudly. Marissa told me I was making people uncomfortable. That was the first time I saw it plain. They weren't struggling to blend. They were trying to rank us. So yes, her mother was right, in a way. Everyone had been upset after the rehearsal dinner. Upset because for once, I had not smiled and paid. On my porch, I said, "You wanted to see whether I'd still fund a family that sidelines my kids." No one denied it. Marissa switched tactics she always did when cornered. "Ben, can we please do this inside? The kids don't need to hear." I laughed again, once. Sharp. Your family left them behind. They've heard enough. She took a breath. Calmer now. Okay, fine. It was wrong. Dana made a stupid joke. Mom said the wrong thing. We all assumed you'd come later and it snowballed. But canceling the trip for the kids over one ugly misunderstanding was cruel. One ugly misunderstanding. That was exactly how these things had always been packaged. single-use language for repeat behavior. The amusement park day, Noah wasn't invited to because boys his age get bored. The Christmas brunch, where Ellie's stocking was a makeup bag from the dollar aisle, while Lucy got a jewelry box with her name engraved. The lake weekend, where Marissa's father introduced Owen as my grandson and Noah as Ben's boy. Each thing small enough to survive if you took it alone. Together, it was a map. I should have known sooner. I should have known when Marissa let her mom redo the Christmas photo because Ellie had stood too close in the first one. I should have known when Dana joked that once we were married, the real cousins needed their own week. I should have known when every favor had a dollar amount and every kindness toward my kids had conditions. Behind me, through the glass, I saw Ellie standing in the hallway, holding her stuffed rabbit against her chest. That settled something in me. I looked at Marissa and said, "You need to collect your things." Her whole body stilled. What? The engagement's over. Now Dana actually gasped. Their mother said, "Don't be ridiculous." I kept my eyes on Marissa. "Take today. Be out by tonight." Ben, no. She took one step closer and dropped her voice. "You are throwing away a year because my sister is messy and my parents are over-involved." I said, "I'm ending it because you watched my kids be treated as optional and kept asking for patience while spending my money." That landed. Her father muttered, "Here we go." I turned to him. Yes, here we go. Since we're finally saying things out loud, I counted on my fingers. 4 new tires on your van last November. 900 and change. He looked away. Your wife's dental bill. Her mother flushed. Dana's rent. Dana folded her arms. The resort. Marissa said, "Stop. No. I'm done being your backup bank." That line came out so clean, I felt it settle into the wood of the porch. I'm not your backup bank. Her mother went stiff. Her father started in about all the things family does for each other. Dana said I was keeping score like a child. Marissa looked less angry now than scared. Good, because calm was what they had used against me for months. Calm explanations. Calm minimizations. Calm little reminders that I was overreacting. So I stayed calm. "I'll transfer you the amount of your half of utilities from the month you moved in," I told Marissa. "Nothing else. Your name comes off my accounts today. The wedding deposits I paid are done. I'm not funding a family my kids aren't part of." She went white. "You can't just—" "I can. Watch." I stepped inside, shut the door in their faces, and locked it. Then I did exactly that. I opened the banking app and removed her from the household card, opened the electric account, and changed the backup payment method. Canceled the floral hold for the wedding, removed my card from the shared grocery delivery account she and Dana somehow both had access to. Closed the auto-renew on the beach cabin we'd pre-booked for August. Changed the code on the garage keypad. Texted my office manager not to release any shop work or tires to Marissa's family without payment up front. Every step gave a small confirmation chime or email. Those little sounds felt like nails going into a frame. By noon, Marissa was inside packing, while I sat at the kitchen table with Noah and Ellie eating grilled cheese, because none of us had the appetite for anything better. She tried twice to pull me into the bedroom to talk privately. I wouldn't go. Anything I had to say, I had already said. The first trip to her car was clothes and makeup bags. The second was framed photos, chargers, a plant, Lucy's backpack, and the extra comforter her mother had gifted us but reminded me 3 times had cost a lot. On the third trip, she stood by the door holding the ring box. "Do you want this back?" I looked at it. I had spent almost $6,000 on that ring. Not because she asked, because I wanted to do it right. "Sell it," I said. She blinked like I'd slapped her. "I don't want anything from you," I said. That wasn't fully true. I wanted my year back. I wanted my kids' trust back. I wanted every time I had defended her to them erased. But those things aren't sold with diamonds. By late afternoon, her family was gone. The house looked bigger and stranger, like it was mine again, but only after a flood. Noah asked if he could still go to his friend Mason's house that evening. I said yes. Ellie asked whether Lucy would still be her stepsister a little bit. I told her, "No, honey." She nodded and took that in the way children do, quietly and with much more seriousness than adults ever deserve. That night, after the kids were asleep, my phone lit up until after midnight. "Marissa, Can we talk like adults? Dana, you embarrassed everyone. Her mother, this is vindictive. Her father, you owe us the cancellation fees. I didn't answer any of them. At 12:17 a.m., one final text from Marissa came through. Was any of it real? I stared at it a long time. Then I typed, yes, that's why this mattered, and blocked her. The next few days were ugly in the tired, predictable way family fallout usually is. Dana posted vague things online about men who weaponize money. Her mother called my shop twice and hung up when my manager answered. Her father actually came by the garage on Tuesday and tried to guilt me in person between a lifted F-150 and a stack of All Seasons. He stood there in his heavy coat with his jaw set and said, "You've always needed to feel powerful." I was holding an impact wrench. I set it down and wiped my hands on a rag. No, I said. I needed you all to stop confusing access with entitlement. He snorted like that was too many syllables for him. Then he said the thing that finally proved I was right. Those kids were going to have a hard time fitting in anyway. Those kids, not Noah and Ellie. Not by name. Not children he had eaten burgers with in my yard 48 hours earlier. I looked at him and realized he had never once expected me to choose them over the peace. Men like him build their whole confidence on that mistake. I said, "Get off my property." He tried one more line. "Marissa loved you." I said, "Then she should have acted like it." He left. The supporting voice, the one I hadn't expected, came from my sister Leah. Leah and I were never dramatic close, but she'd seen enough over the past year to know the weather of things. She came by Wednesday night with a frozen lasagna and 2 movie gift cards for the kids. She set the pan on the counter, looked around the house, and said, "It feels lighter." I sat down harder than I meant to. Then she told me something I should have guessed. Marissa's mother had been saying for months that once the wedding happened, the children's situation would settle naturally, and I'd stop overindulging my own kids. The children's situation, like Noah and Ellie, were clutter to be organized. Leah watched my face and said, "Ben, they counted on your embarrassment. They thought you'd absorb it and keep paying." "Yeah," I said. "I know." She touched my shoulder once. "Your kids will remember who didn't leave them." That nearly undid me, because the truth was, I had left them in smaller ways, not in driveways, but in rooms where I let things slide to keep the future intact, in polite silences, in second chances that were really just discounts on their dignity. I couldn't change those moments. I could only stop making more of them. That Saturday, instead of a mountain resort, I took Noah and Ellie to a small indoor water park 2 towns over. Not fancy, chlorine heavy. Loud. Half the arcade machines ate tokens. The pizza was bad. The towels were thin. It cost me under $400, and not one person there treated my kids like optional guests. Ellie laughed so hard on the lazy river she snorted water. Noah won a stuffed basketball from a claw machine after 3 tries and acted like he didn't care, even though he carried it around all afternoon. We got burgers on the way home and ate them in the truck because the fries were better hot. That night, Ellie taped our wristbands to the fridge with a magnet shaped like a tomato. A week later, a small padded envelope showed up in the mail. Inside was the scrapbook Lucy and Ellie had started together in the fall. Construction paper cover. Glitter glue title. 2 girls on the front in crooked marker dresses. One page had been ripped out. Another had a note tucked inside in Lucy's handwriting. "I'm sorry. I wanted you to come. No return address, but I knew." I handed it to Ellie without comment. She read it on the couch, very seriously, then slid it back into the envelope and put it in her desk drawer. No speech, no tears. That was closure enough for a child. For me, the closure came later. In April, after the last refund from the resort cleared, and the ring was still sitting somewhere I hoped far away from me, I hosted a barbecue in my backyard again. Same grill, same patio, same folding table. But this time, it was just people who came because they liked us. Leah and her boys, my brother, 2 guys from the shop, and their families. Noah's coach stopped by. Ellie made place cards nobody needed. Someone brought a cheap grocery store cake with too much blue frosting. The weather held. At one point, Noah was in the yard throwing a ball with 3 older kids who actually passed it back. Ellie sat at the patio table showing her drawings to Leah's youngest, who listened like every sketch mattered. I stood by the grill with a paper plate in my hand and watched my children in my own yard. No ranking, no conditions, no phase 1. Just a normal afternoon. That was when I understood what I had almost traded away. Not money, not a wedding, not the performance of family. I had almost traded my kids' peace for adult approval that was never going to come. And the ugliest part is that the price hadn't even been hidden. It had been right there all along in receipts, favors, little humiliations, and every time someone expected gratitude from me after excluding my children. People like to say money changes relationships. That isn't quite true. Money reveals relationships. It shows who sees generosity as love and who sees it as access. Who says thank you? Who says finally? Who makes room for your child at the table? And who asks whether they really need a seat? I still think about that empty driveway sometimes. About the cold light that morning. About the way I stood there in socks, holding a phone while 3 cars disappeared into a plan they thought I would fund anyway. And I'm glad I said so little. Safe travels was enough, because the boundary didn't need a speech. It needed a button clicked, a booking canceled, a door locked, a sentence spoken once and meant, I'm not your backup bank. I'm Noah's father. I'm Ellie's father. That turned out to be the only title that mattered.